Hello students, welcome to Digital Learning. I am Shubha Hiremat, Assistant Professor of English, Government First Grade College and PG Center, Dharwad. In this session, let us talk about pre-independence period novel. In the previous session, we have already discussed about the birth and development of novel in Indian English literature, and it was divided into three stages. The first one, that is infant stage, we find there is influence of Western literature, and many regional novelists emerged in India who wrote most often about the society, the social religious superstitions, and also they want to bring reform through the writing, that is novel. So in the early phase, we find the novels in English especially were immature, and they were part of criticism. Whereas the second phase, that is from 1930s onwards, we can say that we can find the real beginning of Indian English novel, and there is again political changes and social reform which took place during that time are reflected in the novels of 1930s. The most important one among them is there is immense influence of the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi, like truth and nonviolence, who not only fought for the freedom of India, but also fought for the cause of the underprivileged classes, the have-nots and downtrodden. Apart from many other things, these writers have mirrored various incidents and happenings of the life and activities of Mahatma Gandhi in particular, and the contemporary social, political, economic, and religious upheavals in general. So one side, there are many political issues related to the freedom movement, and what are the calls by Mahatma Gandhi and his ideas, his thoughts. And on the other side, again, there are social religious aspects, the economic condition of India, about poverty. So all these are taken into consideration while writing novels, and many historical facts and events are there. And there is also, we can find a kind of poetic grandeur and artistic craftsmanship in the writings of these novelists. So where we find the influence of Gandhi, especially in the Indian English novels, for example, Mulk Raj Anand's first novel, that is Untouchable, we find the influence of Gandhi. Raja Rao's Kanthapura, a village, and how it was, we find the influence of Gandhi on these village people. So same way, there are many writers like K.S. Venkataramani's Kandan the Patriot, then Venu Chittali's In Transit, R.K. Narayan's, of course, Waiting for the Mahatma. These are the major trio of Indian English novels: Mulk Raj Anand, R.K. Narayan, and Raja Rao. And William Walsh rightly called them as the founding fathers, the genuine novelists and inaugurators of the form, because they are the pioneers of Indian English novel, and they explored very beautifully the contemporary Indian society from their specific views about without distorting the reality. So Mulk Raj Anand, he published his first novel, Untouchable, in 1935. And at the same time, in South India, R.K. Narayan also wrote a novel, his first novel being Swami and Friends, and Raja Rao published Kanthapura. In all these novels, we find not only the influence of Gandhi, but also they very well reflected the socio-economic conditions of their contemporary Indian society. And for this reason, they are the pioneers of Indian English fiction. So among them, the first one is Mulk Raj Anand. For Mulk Raj Anand, the novel is creative weapon for attaining humanness. It is the weapon of humanism. He is particularly humanist and a novelist with purpose. He writes from his personal experience and experiences of real people. He writes basically about the lower class life. In almost all his novels, we find the characters, the theme, the major theme of the novel, which is, of course, the lower class life. And we find the influence of the Western, especially Victorian English writers like Charles Dickens, H.G. Wells, and Tolstoy in both form and characterization. He followed the ancient Indian tradition of storytelling, but his approach to themes and events is of a social realism. Therefore, his novels are the novels of protest and social realism. Anand is influenced by the two ideologies. One side, the Western Marxism, and on the other side, the Eastern Gandhism. In pre-independence period, the early novels of Mulk Raj Anand were first one Untouchable, then he wrote Coolie the very next year, that is 1936. Then appears Two Leaves and a Bud, Village, Village Across the Black Waters, and The Sword and the Sickle. All these three novels can be called as trilogy because there is continuation of the same story and the same protagonist. And the next one is The Big Heart. So these novels are considered in pre-independence period, and later also he has produced other literary works, but they can be studied after independence era. So Untouchable is his masterpiece, and this novel is a classic experimentation in respect of theme and technique. The story or the plot of this novel is it represents a day from morning till evening in the life of a sweeper boy named Baka, who is, in the words of E.M. Foster, a real individual, lovable, thwarted, sometimes grand, sometimes weak, and thoroughly Indian. So, this is the best observation by E.M. Foster, and of course, it is Indian novel which deals with the major concern of untouchability, which was practiced in India. And the second one of the major trio is R.K. Narayan. He is called as novelist of middle class sensibility, a natural storyteller in his novels from Swami and Friends and to the painter of science. Before independence, in a pre-independence period, the novels written by R.K. Narayan were The Painter of Science. His first one is Swami and Friends in 1935. And later he wrote The Bachelor of Arts in 1937, The Dark Room, which is like Indian novel of R.K. Narayan, having the same theme of Henrik Ibsen's The Doll's House. It is Indianized version. And the next one is The English Teacher, which is autobiographical novel. It tells the same story, what happened to the wife of R.K. Narayan, that is Rajam. She died in a short age, and So the same suffering, the happiness, mixture of happiness and loss. So all these we find in this novel. And next is Mr. Sampath. So all these brilliantly and realistically describe South Indian life. William Walsh says R.K. Narayan's writing is a distinctive blend of Western technique and Eastern material. There is irony in his novels, and R.K. Narayan is known for setting of his fictitious town. All of his novels are set up in a town which was imaginary, and the name is Malgudi. Narayan writes admirably plain English. He is very simple, straightforward style of narration. So this is the serialized the stories written by R.K. Narayan and his novels were documented, and Malgudi Days was a famous, very popular serial which was telecasted. So the next one and the last one of this major trio is R.K. Narayan. Raja Rao. Raja Rao is not a prolific writer like Mulk Raj Anand. He is concerned with philosophical and mythological aspects. His first novel, Kanthapura, is a masterpiece which describes the village life and peasant sensibility. So Raja Rao has says, we cannot write like English, we should not. We can write only as Indians. We have grown up look at the large world as part of us. He adds that English is the language of our intellectual makeup, but not of our emotional makeup. About the rich contribution of Mulk Raj Anand, R.K. Narayan, and Raja Rao, we find there is human centrality, a kind of comic mode as mode of study of maturity, and the mythological aspects, especially in the novels of Raja Rao. He has written very less literary works, novels, stories, and some biography. He has written the biography of Gandhi. So we find there is a garrulous account of primitivistic, religious, political, and social activities of rural people. The novel Kanthapura is the depiction of villagers. There is characterizing entire country. Kanthapura is India in miniature. So it is regarded as major Indian novel where we find Gandhi's struggle for independence, and young Murthy, who is the protagonist of this novel, back from the city brimming with new ideas, seeks to cut across ancient barriers and unite the villagers in non-violent action. The story emerges through the eyes of a delightful old woman, Achaka, who comments on the villagers' actions with sharp-eyed wisdom, evoking the spirit of India's traditional folk epics. In total, Raja Rao, the R.K. Narayan, and Mulk Raj Anand. So all these three have made great contribution to the development of novel and Indian English literature. So C.D. Narasimhaya observes the human centrality of Mulk Raj Anand, the comic as a mode of study in maturity in R.K. Narayan, and the metaphysical aspect of Raja Rao have really enriched the realm of Indian novel in English. So they have enriched the realm of Indian novel in English and established it as a very self-identified and developed form. Not only these major trio, in 1930s, there were other novel writers who emerged and they also contributed to the growth of Indian English novel. Among them, the most earliest novelist was K.S. Venkataramani. He wrote two novels, very famous. The first novel is Murugan the Tiller, which contrasts the careers of two friends, Kedari and Ramu. And it talks about the village life and the importance of agriculture and farmers. And the next one is Kandan the Patriot, a novel of New India in the making. So we find the impression of Gandhism, which was set against the background of civil disobedience movement. A.S.P. Ayyar, who was a member of Indian Civil Service and a dramatist, also wrote novels, and instead of choosing the contemporary socio-political aspects of India, he preferred history. He wrote some novels like Baladitya, Three Men of Destiny. Who are these three men? One is Alexander the Great, Chandragupta Maurya, and Chanakya, who shaped the destiny of India. So, in this novel, he presents glorious renaissance of India, and his fictional technique is totally unaffected by 20th century models. Krishnaswami Nagarajan, who is known for his two novels, A Thower House, where we find the Galswadian family chronicle dealing with Maharashtrian Vaishnava Brahmin joint family. And the next novel is Chronicles of Kedaram. It is the picture of Coromandel coast town during 1930s. And in this novel, there is realistic picture with a sharp sense of irony. So all these writers contributed to the development of Indian English novel, and and with them we can conclude the pre-independence period novel, and the next stage will be in your novels during post-independence era. So with this, I'll conclude my session. Thank you.